the streets of Mexico City, say. For this really is a city built on tarmac. Here there are almost 20 million people and nearly 5 million cars. Traffic here is so heavy that commuters can spend 6 hours a day, a third of their waking lives, sitting in their cars, just trying to get to work. This is transport not just shaping the megacity, it's in danger of killing it. The motorways, the freeways, the railways below us are the veins and the arteries of any city. Now we're in Mexico City, one of the most congested places on the planet. These arteries are getting clogged up, congested. And we know what happens if you get too much of that. You get an urban heart attack. Mexico City's traffic cops are fighting a war, and they are not winning. I'm with the police helicopter pilot, Captain Oscar Cardenta, to get a whirly bird's eye view of the morning commute. Just 7:30 a.m. Already jams are forming down below, and they stretch as far as we can see.
Right now, we're going to be coming up on Periférico, which is usually very busy at this time of day.
Mexico City's Periférico is the city's major ring road. If anything goes wrong here, the police know it will spawn rush hour hell. So, how can you help from the air?
I'm a traffic specialist, and he's giving orders to the people on the ground to detour the traffic, control the flow.
It isn't long before Oscar spots trouble. Something's slowing down the traffic on a critical flyover. Left unchecked, this could spell gridlock, so he's straight onto it, and a team of motorbike traffic police are dispatched. They're going to need to act quickly because any hold-ups can degenerate into city-wide chaos. This time it just turns out to be a broken-down car. The young couple driving it have simply run out of petrol. No hanging around for the AA here. So dire is the congestion that in Mexico City the police have learned to improvise. Unconventional, but it works. Across the globe, the consequences of the waste crisis in Mexico City are on an epic and al fresco scale compared to London's sewers. This is what's known as the Grand Canal. No gondolas, no palazzos, and no tourists either. It's a 100-mile-long open sewer designed to transport wastewater to the central sewage works. I fear it is time for me to experience sewer cleaning on an altogether different level. I'm told that at this moment, clever people are working on a form of television that you can actually smell. And all I can say is be very glad they haven't got there yet. The reek here is unbelievable. These canals were designed 100 years ago to handle the runoff from Mexico City's rainy season. But their history has been overtaken. The modern mania for casually throwing things away reaches its inevitable consequence here, clogged and festering. Almost everything gets tossed in here. And the truth is, we are becalmed on a sea of plastic, dead dogs, there's one just there, and much worse. I am quite literally up a certain creek with a paddle, which is doing me no good. I'm not going to give you the statistics about how much excrement the average human produces each year. You really don't want to know, except that it's lots, or as the scientists would say, lots and lots. And so a city the size of this one, with nearly 20 million people, produces the equivalent of an Olympic swimming pool full of excrement every minute. And something has to happen to it. But blockages can't be got rid of from the relative safety of a boat or with a spade, as in London's ancient sewers. This calls for someone with a diver's licence, a cool head, and a very strong stomach. When it comes to unclogging, Ricardo Vázquez is the go-to guy. Is it dangerous, what you're doing now?
Sí, es peligroso por la basura y el agua que es muy contaminada.
It's dangerous because of all the pollution in the water, and also because of the glass and nails and stuff like that.
Is there anything you wish you hadn't found, anything really bad that you find down there?
Dead bodies. 2 or 3 every year.
I hope we have a good day today. It's not too bad today. I should say that health and safety have insisted that I can't go down there. And I think for the first time in my life, I'm thinking, go health and safety. Once he's submerged, the only contact Ricardo will have with the outside world is via a radio in his suit. And his suit is the only thing between him and the highly toxic broth. That's one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. I mean, it's unimaginable what he's just lowered himself into. With glass, nails, sewage, and maybe even the odd decomposing animal to contend with, it's a risky operation. Ricardo now has to dive to the bottom of the tank and clear out the filters. Down there, I'm told it's completely pitch black, so you can't see anything at all. What you know is that horrible things are blocking up the system, and if they're allowed to keep blocking it up, the entire sewage system starts to malfunction. There's a metre of just solid trash at the bottom of this as well, so there's no ground, if you like. After 5 minutes, a radio message comes from the deep. He's found a tree. While still submerged, working by touch alone, Ricardo sets about dislodging the offending tree. I can't think of somebody who is more useful to the people of Mexico City than the man who's just gone down there. Blockage dealt with, Ricardo's winched out for a shower and a strong dose of disinfectant. The size of the megacity food and waste footprint threatens the future of the planet. Food often travels thousands of miles before it arrives on our plates. It's inefficient, it's wasteful, but to find a solution, perhaps we need to travel back in time. Away at last from the madness of the megacity. Bird song, nature, back in the countryside. Except that I'm not in the countryside. I am inside Mexico City. And we're on our way to see its famous floating farms. They go right the way back as an idea to the original Aztec city, which was built on a lake. And the way they fed themselves was they created little floating islands, and on those islands they grew the plants they needed to eat. In the 16th century, Mexico City, or Tenochtitlan, was the largest city in the world. The Aztecs' floating islands or farms were vast rafts made out of reeds, fertilized with mud from the lake and organic waste. And the result was highly productive. An amazing 2/3 of the city's food was grown within the city limits. Now we're in the 21st century. One of the questions is, could we go right the way back? Could we learn to grow more of our own food, actually, inside the city? Pedro Castillo is keeping traditions alive from before the Spanish conquest. Pedro? Yeah, it's beautiful. Really. his fertile little holding of vegetables is home to livestock and an abundance of fruit and vegetables, which are all sold back to downtown Mexico City, a couple of miles away.
Why did they start to grow the food on the island? And is it a particularly good way of growing food to have a floating farm?
Era la necesidad, era el poco espacio que había de tierra cultivable.
It was
Por eso
more
tuvieron que
about
idear
necessity.
estas islas,
It was
que son
the
muy
lack of
productivas.
space and lack of room to cultivate their crops that brought them here. And then they noticed it was very good for farming.
So you yourself, what do you grow here? And where do you sell what you grow?
Sembramos espinaca, lechuga, rábano,
They
tomate,
grow
maíz.
lettuce, spinach, tomato, corn, radish.
Vendemos aquí en el mercado de Xochimilco.
Normally
Pero
they
también
sell it
actualmente
in the
estamos
market
vendiendo a
here in
restaurantes
Xochimilco,
muy selectos.
but right now they're selling to very selective restaurants in Mexico City.
Very good.
Pedro makes a mean tamale. That's a kind of corn dough served in leaves.
Very good.
And like all good farmers, Pedro does a nice line in home brew as well. This is a traditional tipple, which is made out of cactus sap.
It's got a kind of caramel taste.
And it would be extremely rude not to sample it properly. It is damn fine.
Very good.
Shimiti.
Shimite. Shimite.
Tlazocamati tonancintlali.
You're offering it to the Mother Earth.
And of course, this is very much a Mexico City story. You don't get tamales and floating farms most places. But perhaps there's a lesson here, because although they're built by humans, cities depend on nature. We're inside nature, we're part of nature, and the great cities that we build thrive or die because of the natural world around them.
We tear up the past and we ignore nature at our peril.